Tonight, we're looking at a story of stunning military precision and strategic audacity. On a single day, Ukraine executed two separate, highly sophisticated operations against high-value Russian targets. The result was a staggering blow, with estimated damages exceeding $3 billion. These were not just random acts of defiance. They were meticulously planned assaults that signal a new phase in this conflict, a phase where technology deception and multi-domain warfare. One attack turned a fortified naval port in Crimea into a fiery death trap. The other reached deep into Russia, severing a vital economic artery just miles from Moscow. The question tonight is not just what happened, but how. How did Ukraine manage to bypass some of Russia's most advanced defenses? The answer lies in a complex symphony of military actions. We're talking about a combination of air power, naval drones, ground forces, and a silent, invisible weapon: electronic warfare. Ukraine didn't just throw everything it had at these targets. The operation in Crimea began not with a Ukrainian attack, but with a Russian one. At 5:47 in the morning, the calm of the Feodosia naval harbor was broken by a preemptive Russian strike. Believing they had identified a concentration of Ukrainian raiding craft, Russian forces launched a coordinated assault. Two Bayan-M-class corvettes. Graphic Bayan-M corvettes firing missiles at decoys. They unleashed a volley of Kalibr cruise missiles, MiG-31 interceptor jets, Kashtan close-in weapon systems. The objective was clear: neutralize what they perceived as a gathering threat to their naval and oil logistics hub in Crimea. This Russian offensive, however, was precisely what Ukrainian planners had anticipated. They had baited a trap. Russia had walked right into it. The Ukrainian raiding craft were likely part of an elaborate feint, designed to draw Russian assets into the open and force them to reveal their positions and reveal their fire control patterns. By launching missiles and engaging their weapon systems, the Russian corvettes and air defenses exposed themselves. Their radar systems lit up. Their communication channels became active. Their ammunition stores were depleted. The hunter was about to become the hunted. Almost instantly after the Russian strike, Ukraine's counter-operation began. It was a multi-domain assault. The first move came from the air. Ukrainian Su-27 jets flew in. They acted as electronic warfare platforms, creating an electromagnetic screen, broadcasting a flood of false signals, deploying radar decoys. The digital smokescreen blinded and confused coastal defense radars. That opened the window for what followed. With radar operators disoriented, the next wave was launched. Ukrainian forces fired long-range Scalp cruise missiles, not at the ships, but at high-value command and control centers on shore. The goal was to decapitate the command structure, to sow chaos, and to prevent an organized response. At the same time, a fleet of UJ-22 reconnaissance drones took up positions overhead, providing a persistent, real-time view of the battle space. They watched Russian reactions, identified gaps in the disrupted defenses, and fed targeting data back to Ukrainian commanders. Small, fast Gurza M-class gunboats sped toward the harbor's minefields. These boats weren't sweeping mines in the traditional sense. They were equipped with powerful electronic jammers, targeting the mine's detonation mechanisms, effectively creating safe corridors through the defensive barriers. With the Russian radar network still reeling from the electronic warfare and initial missile strikes, the next and most devastating phase of the harbor assault began. A new wave of attackers emerged from the dark, turbulent waters: unmanned surface vessels. These are naval drones, low-profile, fast-moving boats packed with explosives. Guided by a continuous data stream from the UJ-22 drones overhead, they navigated corridors cleared in the minefields. Their small jet drives left a minimal wake, making them incredibly hard to spot. Surviving Bayan-M corvettes, already damaged by earlier Neptune strikes, attempted a desperate defense. Their Kashtan close-in weapon systems spun to life, designed to shoot down incoming missiles and aircraft. But tracking radars remained compromised by electromagnetic interference from Ukrainian Su-27s. Eyewitness accounts video showed 30mm cannons firing erratically, tracers, splashing into the water, unable to lock onto the nimble USVs closing fast. Each USV was armed with a precision-shaped charge. The goal was not to sink the ships outright instead. The charges were designed to disable propulsion systems and punch holes near the waterline. The tactic ensured the ships would become long-term obstructions, not easily towed. Crippled corvettes, dead in the water, struck near hulls and propeller shafts, resulting in massive fireballs that illuminated the smoke-filled anchorage. In a desperate countermeasure, Russian commanders tried to deploy unmanned underwater vehicles to conduct emergency mine clearance and to potentially target the Ukrainian boats. But even this move was thwarted. Ukrainian electronic warfare nodes jammed the guidance signals of the Russian UUVs, effectively freezing them in place. As the operation in Feodosia was reaching its fiery conclusion, another high-stakes drama was unfolding hundreds of miles away, deep inside Russian territory. The target this time was not a military base, but the Tula-Moscow oil pipeline. This strategic asset, valued at over $3 billion, is a primary artery for supplying fuel to Russia's Western Front and its capital region. At 2:17 a.m., under a thick fog about 70 miles south of Moscow, 6 Ka-52 Alligator attack helicopters emerged from low clouds, unleashing unguided S-8 rockets. They were firing at what they believed was a Ukrainian reconnaissance team, but the targets were sophisticated sensor decoys. This was the opening move in a complex operation to sever one of Russia's economic and military lifelines. The Ukrainian plan began not with a direct strike, but with an elaborate act of deception. At 3:05 a.m., a formation of Mugen 5 decoy drones was launched high above the Tula corridor, crude plywood airframes with loud buzzing rotors, designed to be slow, noisy, and obvious, built as radar bait. Russian Panzer S-1 air defense units locked onto the decoys and began firing, diverting attention and resources. While air defenses were occupied in the sky, the real operation moved silently on the ground. Along a quiet 6-mile stretch of pipeline, low-slung Ukrainian mining robots crept through access channels. These small, remote-controlled units moved undetected, planting powerful directional charges and smart mines at reinforced junctions and critical valve points. In the forests west of Serpukhov, mobile Vilka M rocket launchers maneuvered into pre-plotted firing positions, escorted by robotic logistics units along remote forest roads, preparing for the next phase of the assault. 4:10 a.m. Fog lifting. Spearhead, T-84 main battle tanks, flanked by BTR-4E infantry carriers. Tanks engaged Checkpoint 22 defenders. The attack was a feint, a noisy distraction. While tanks drew fire, small teams on modified motorcycles slipped into the tree line. They executed a wide flanking maneuver, navigating an abandoned industrial area to bypass defenses. Target: a camouflage logistics depot. By 4:40 a.m., they breached the facility, planted thermite charges on fuel and ammunition, neutralized the small garrison. The resupply line was severed before commanders realized. 5:02 a.m., a salvo of 300 mm cluster munitions from BM-30 Smerch, Lancet 3 kamikaze drones began hunting Ukrainian armor. Explosions and shrapnel filled the battlefield. Ukrainian forces held their ground. Their objective was to secure a corridor around the pipeline. The battle escalated into the air. MiG-29 fighters flew low and fast as decoys with afterburners. They drew S-400 air defense batteries and Nebo-M tracking arrays. Russian interceptors scrambled. Su-30 multi-role fighters flew nap of the earth at about 200 feet, undetected. They were the real threat, now inside the air defense shield. They carried Kh-31P anti-radiation missiles homing on radar emissions, missiles locked onto a forward Nebo-M radar array, and a second Nebo-M radar array, and the radars were destroyed moments later. The result created a blind spot. Through that gap, a wave of small FPV drones surged forward, and Russian radar failed to track them. At 06:02, a disguised panel van miles away launched 2 fiber optic guided drones. The first drone acted as a decoy, drawing fire toward a secondary fuel depot. 30 seconds later, the second drone launched. This one was special, tethered by a hair-thin fiber optic line, making it immune to electronic jamming. An operator watched a live thermal feed and guided it with pinpoint accuracy. At 0607, the drone reached its destination, Pipeline Arm 1, Pipeline Arm 2, and the junction where they met. The operator guided it down to 20 feet and initiated impact. A small 2-pound shaped charge detonated dead center. The effect was instantaneous and catastrophic. The high-pressure fuel aerosolized and ignited, creating a massive 300-foot fireball that lit the dawn sky. The shockwave ruptured over 600 feet of pipeline, producing a torrent of fire that spread rapidly along the breach. Russia dispatched elements of the 76th VDV Airborne Brigade to secure the area. But Ukrainian forces had anticipated this. As the VDV advanced, a pre-planted mine detonated, destroying a key bridge and cutting off their path of retreat. Trapped between Ukrainian infantry and the burning pipeline, the VDV were caught in a kill zone, targeted by suicide drones and by mortar fire. With their mission accomplished, the $3 billion artery severed, Ukrainian forces began a coordinated withdrawal, leaving behind a logistical nightmare that would stall fuel convoys for days. The twin attacks on the Feodosia naval port and the Tula-Moscow pipeline represent far more than just a successful day for Ukrainian forces. They mark a significant evolution in the tactics of modern warfare. In just a few hours, Ukraine demonstrated an astonishing ability to blend deception, multi-domain coordination, precision strikes. This wasn't about brute force. It was about finding and exploiting vulnerabilities with a combination of high-tech weaponry, low-tech decoys, brilliant strategic planning. This is the new face of asymmetric warfare. The financial cost to Russia, over $3 billion in a single day, is staggering. The loss includes advanced warships, critical infrastructure, expensive munitions. But the strategic impact is arguably even more significant. The strike on Feodosia has severely degraded the Black Sea Fleet's ability to resupply its forces, effectively turning a key logistics hub into a liability. The pipeline attack creates immediate fuel shortages that can stall tank battalions and ground supply convoys, directly impacting Russia's ability to sustain operations on the front lines. These attacks strike at the heart of Russia's war machine. These operations force Russia into a difficult position. It must now divert precious resources: air defense systems, electronic warfare units, elite troops. Every S-400 battery moved to guard a pipeline is one that cannot be used to defend against attacks on the front. This stretches Russia's military even thinner and hands the strategic initiative to Ukraine, allowing it to dictate the time and place of the next engagement. It creates a sense of vulnerability that extends all the way to Moscow's doorstep. Ultimately, these strikes are a powerful message. They show that with the right strategy and technology, a smaller, more agile force can inflict crippling damage on a larger one.